I know you're in the middle of well, not even in the middle of a season, you're at the start of a season, but
Very beginning of it, yes.
there's a story about you being one of the hot coaching candidates. Is that even across your mind at this time of the year?
No, I mean, it's obviously it's very flattering, and it's awesome. And I mean, it's a credit to all the players that are on this team, Matt, everybody, and just all the players from the past and stuff like that. So I mean, it's awesome to get that kind of a recognition. But I mean, it's kind of ironic that it happened after we got annihilated, because usually that success comes from being successful. But you know, it is great. It's awesome to hear, but it's about, you know, the next opponent 1 week, 1 day at a time.
Nathaniel, like games like that, they can happen to anybody. They can happen at any time. Is it a little strange or troubling at all that it happened in week 1 though? Like, or is it easier or better that it happened in week 1?
I mean, I don't think it's ever easy. I mean, we all know that that was unacceptable for us. It's not the standard that any of us have or want. We're all frustrated. But the idea in this league is you have to learn from it, put it aside, because you got another game coming up. You're only as good as your last game. And you know, you always hear people talking about how humbling this game is, and that's why it's so awesome. You could be at the very top, and you can go all the way down to the bottom. And that's when you get to find out about the character of the coaches, the players, everybody. And as long as you learn from it, then everything should start going in the right direction. So I think that's just the most important thing, because that is unacceptable. And it's nothing that any of us wanted. And you can never really predict everything perfectly. And it is what it is, and let's get on to the next one.
What are the lessons from it, Nathaniel? Like, what do you guys learn from a bad day like that?
Yeah, I think as coaches, for us especially, we're so hard on ourselves. You know, our players, they're so hard on themselves. They look at themselves first. We all look at each other first, and then kind of go to the big picture. So it's a process of, hey, what happened? Where did, you know, you're always trying to look and search and try to find that thing. And I think you just continually try to gain those things. And in the end, it's about, you know, obviously having a great plan, making sure that the plan is exactly what you wanted. And then it's about the execution. And if there were any breakdowns or communication errors, how we can fix those. So the things that we can control before the actual snap of the ball is what we want to be sure we eliminate and make sure everybody's on the same page. And as you continually do that and start talking about it, you get back to, okay, let's get back to where we need to be and what the standard is that we've set.
Nathaniel, what did you think of just Josh and Royce, how they did in terms of also the experience of finally getting out there, you know, for a full 4 quarters and getting that experience next to each other?
I'll tell you, they did a nice job. I mean, it wasn't too big for them. Especially Josh, when he's got Aaron Rodgers underneath him all the time. It's one of those deals, you know, you never know how somebody's going to react until you get out there. And, you know, especially when there was a little adversity, you know, those guys kept rolling. And, you know, it's good for them to have that first experience. There's always going to be ups and downs for any rookie, but it was really good to have them out there. I'm really confident in those guys. I mean, heck, the personnel department, finding those guys and bringing them in, having them be able to start is awesome for us as a team. And, you know, I'm excited about them moving forward.
Dan Campbell said, "Oh, thanks. My old team, the Saints, just kicked a hornet's nest when it comes to messing with Aaron Rodgers." And Aaron has got that thing where he puts his head down when the next game like that comes up. What's he like in a week like this past week?
Aaron can be very scary sometimes. But it's great. That's why he's such an amazing competitor. I mean, it's one of those things that a game like that he learns from, and even at this time in his career, he still learns about himself and the team and everybody around him. And you know, he definitely has that mindset of, you know, we got to turn this thing around. He's still him. We're all still us. But you can definitely feel that. You know, it wasn't something that he was excited about, and you know, I don't want to kick that hornet's nest too much.
Nathaniel, what do you remember the most about coaching Jamal Williams the last 2 years, and then also the challenge now? You know, you guys are going to see him on the other side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, Jamal is awesome. I mean, I can't say enough great things about him. Yeah, I mean, he's a true pro. The way that he went out there every day, you know, how he was able to come in and, I mean, score touchdowns for us, run the ball, pass protect, and then you just take the man's personality. I mean, the juice that he brings, the dancing he would do, I mean, it was just, he's one of those guys, you walk down the hallway and you see him and he's always got a smile on his face. You're always excited to see him. So, I mean, I love that guy. I mean, he is awesome. And, I'm really happy for him, that he's there. It's one of those things where we're not going to be able to be friends for a day, but my respect for him is very high.
Daniel, I think like after the Chargers game in 19, then after the Tampa game last year, and on Sunday, Matt goes, we should have stuck with the run more. But is that just him saying that to, take the blame? Or like, you guys ran 12 plays before the 2-minute drill. You were down 17-3 at half. How do you actually like stick with the run in a game like that? Or is it just not possible?
I mean, I think at the time that we started that second half, we definitely wanted to do that. I think, we can't forget, the 3 turnovers, not good. I mean, that's going to put you in a hole regardless of what has happened in the first half or anything like that. So you always want to run the ball. You always want to put that threat to a defense, because otherwise they're going to pin their ears back and they're going to rush you. They're going to play more coverage. And it's going to make it harder to throw the ball. So I think whenever we say that, it's because, when you just start airing it out, the defense starts changing. And you can potentially sneak a couple runs in there, or you just want to stay with your plan that you've worked on all week, that that it's got a chance to be successful. So I think, you always want to stick with the plan as much as you can. It's kind of that time of, okay, when does it potentially need to change a little bit? So I think there's always that kind of fine line when you want to go there.
This staff together in Detroit, Deuce, now, are there any of these guys that you've worked with in the past or coached?
There's a couple that I know. Mark Brunell was obviously down at Jacksonville. He wasn't coaching, but he was around quite a bit, and he's a great guy. I got to meet him. I was actually really nervous when I met him. I mean, it's Mark Brunell. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to play a flag football game versus those guys, but they're a good group. The D coordinator that was at Jacksonville, I believe he's there too. So there's a good group.
Is it problematic when you have a new middle offensive line like you already had, and now maybe you don't have Lucas and you're going to be sticking somebody else in there?
I think Coach Stenovich and Coach Buckus, they do a really good job working those guys in. I mean, even during the training camp, OTAs, we're always trying to mix and match, because the reality of this league is, rarely does a team stay with the same 5 throughout the whole year. So I think that's kind of part of the process of training, is whether it be the system or even just getting their reps, is being able to move guys around, be able to play left and right, and changing the guards and the centers. So as many combinations as we can do, we're always trying to double train those guys, triple train them. I mean, Elgie last year I think he played maybe all 5 positions, maybe 4 positions. So I'm not worried about that. I think it's one of those things, those guys all work really well together. So I think that's kind of the critical starting point.
Nathaniel, back to Detroit's defense a little bit. Have you seen a lot of parallels between what Aaron Glenn's doing there? Some of the things that Dennis was doing in New Orleans as well.
There's definitely some. He obviously came from the Saints, so they definitely have some things that they do, but they kind of have their own little wrinkles too, and do a couple different things. So we'll see some familiarities with those guys.
One of the things that Dan Campbell said, I think on Wednesday, was pointing to what the Saints did. He said the Saints did a good job setting the edge on you guys.
What was that? Sorry.
No, the Saints did a good job of setting the edge on you guys. So how do you counteract that? Is that just better blocking, or is there something more to it than that?
It's a combination of, first and foremost from last week, again, it's about that execution. We have to definitely execute better all around. And then, it's all about trying to find angles. And so that's kind of what we're always looking for. So it's just trying to maneuver different people, whether it be motions, or flies or anything like that, to try to get the best angles. So we just got to continue to try to find those angles for the guys so they have a better chance to get those edges.
Anything else in the room, guys? Hey, Sarah, let's go to Zoom.
Sorry, I wasn't muted. We have 2 in here. Tom Silverstein.
So early on, A.J. Dillon has a couple of carries that are pretty decent for you. And, when you're going with 2 backs the way you are, you have this whole body of work from Aaron Jones that, you're not going to ignore and not put him on. But how are you going to decide when it is that a guy is hot or is more effective against the particular defense that you're facing?
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys do a really good job, and both those guys we definitely want to get the ball to. So I think the starting point is, we got to do better on third down to get more opportunities to be able to get those guys the ball. And there's a lot of different ways when it comes to deciding who's kind of hot and who's not. There was a time that if you got over 4 yards, you kept feeding the same guy over and over again. There's a lot of different philosophies about that. But I think you just got to get a feel for how they're playing in the game. Just like when we had Jamal last year and Aaron kind of as that 1-2 punch, it's going to be the same thing as we move forward and get more reps and get into a flow of a drive, being able to, feature those guys.
Aaron Nagler?
Coach, the last couple of years you did kind of feature Tyler Urban as your motion guy, at least when he was on the field and healthy. Sunday against the Saints, you had a few guys going in motion, but it wasn't ever just one guy kind of featured the jet sweep kind of threat, right? Did that hurt you in that game? Is that something you need to get back to? Because it seemed like, I don't know, with Tyler, it was very effective as far as making guys second guess what they were seeing. But on Sunday, it was lots of guys kind of disparate, but they were never really a threat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we've kind of looked at it as that we want to be sure that we have everybody doing multiple things. So we want to, again, make them have to cover the entire field, and we don't want them to know if it's just one guy that would do that. So we want to try to get as many people involved with all the flies as we possibly can. Nothing really looked great this past Sunday. So.
Fair enough.